Different laws in Canada and America. G'day guys, how's it going? My name is Aussie Tash. I come across this video on YouTube. Really looking forward to finding out the differences in the laws between Canada and America. So let's roll.
Every country has its own set of laws, and to a large degree, for major crimes, you'll find that laws are, again, for the most part, similar regardless of where you might visit. Murder, for example, is by and large not legal in most countries.
Yes.
Stealing as well, in the vast majority of countries around the world, will lead you to a heap of trouble.
Big trouble, buddy.
When it comes to smaller deeds, however, there is actually an astounding variety in the legal definition of what's right and wrong.
Okay.
Even between Canada and the US, you'll find a number of differences. So if you're planning to move, here are 5 things that differ legally between our two loving nations.
Okay, this is really interesting, this video, isn't it? 5 different laws between Canada and America. Probably these laws, obviously important. You may need to know them. So this is a really handy video, guys. Let's get into it. Okay.
In Canada, depending on which province you're talking about, the legal drinking age is either 18 or 19. Provinces set the legal drinking age, and most have set it at 19. The exceptions are Alberta, Manitoba, and Quebec, which have set the drinking age at the younger one of 18.
18,
This
like
is
Australia.
kind of interesting, as these tend to be considered some of the most conservative provinces, especially Alberta and Manitoba. In the US, there's a federal minimum legal drinking age, or the FMLD age,
Okay.
which was set at age 21 back in 1984.
Wow.
This means that for most college students, you cannot legally obtain alcohol. Of course, if you're a 40-year-old university student, you'd be
That's
okay.
just creepy then, isn't it? Okay, so in Australia, like Canada, the legal drinking age is 18, and that's through the whole country. It's like the national drinking age. Coincidentally, it's my 18-year-old's birthday today. Shout out to Hydra. He's out drinking. Have a good night, buddy. Please be safe.
In the US,
What?
if you're in a vehicle accident and you get out of your car and say, sorry about that,
You're
which
guilty.
is the polite thing to do, those words can be entered as evidence if the accident ends up in court. While it's generally understood that saying sorry does not necessarily mean an admission of guilt,
Oh, yes, it
if
does.
you have a skillful lawyer coupled with the right jury, that sorry about that could be legally used as an admission that you're guilty. In
Wow.
Canada, that can't happen. Saying sorry cannot be defined as an admission. In fact, in 2009, the province of Ontario passed the Apology Act, which essentially says saying sorry more often than not is simply an expression of sympathy. For example, if your dog dies and I say, I'm really sorry about that,
No, you're
it
sorry.
does not mean that I killed your dog.
No.
If that Russian guy had just said sorry to John Wick, everything might have been different. After all,
He's
Keanu
Canadian.
Reeves is
Yes,
Canadian.
he is.
He gets this.
Wow, so that one is really important for a Canadian traveling in America and driving in America. If you get into an accident and you say you're sorry, mate, you're in jail. You could end up in some American jail because saying sorry over there is an admission of guilt. Man, that's very similar to Australia. If someone says something that, you take the wrong way and that offends you and, hurts your feelings or, makes you angry, and they say they're sorry, that's an admission of guilt, mate. I do see that the same. I do see the similarities in that. But yeah, that's a very important law for people in Canada traveling to America to know. Very handy. I know this one.
So I remember both opening Kinder Surprise eggs as a kid and giving them to my kids, mostly so that I can play with them. Half the fun is getting those little toys and putting them together. As it turns out, there's a law that was passed in which the United States Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act prohibits confectionery products which contain a non-nutritive object, unless the non-nutritive object has a functional value.
No.
And I guess those little toys, while super fun, aren't
They're fun,
that
mate.
nutritious.
Okay.
Essentially, the act bans the sale of any candy that has embedded in it a toy or trinket. In 2017, a product called Kinder Joy was allowed in
Yeah.
the US, and this is just a plastic egg. You open it up, and half the egg is chocolate, and the other half is a toy. It's just not the same.
So in Australia, we have the Kinder Joy and the Kinder Surprise. I do find it very strange and a little bit bizarre that America have banned Kinder Surprises. I'm guessing it's to do with like a choking issue for, children under the age of, 5, 3 years. Um, they've got so many things that are legal that you question, and yet they've got the Kinder Surprise thing. Oh my gosh, each their own, I guess. But yeah, we have Kinder Surprise and Kinder Joy here in Australia.
Again, in Canada, it's absolutely fine to walk down to the corner store and pick up one of those highly non-nutritive eggs of Joy.
Yeah.
Who said the US was the land of the free?
Oh, you just had to plug that, didn't you? You can't buy a ticket
This
to
one is
Cuba?
a bit tricky, and I'll admit a bit misleading, because contrary to what some people believe, you can now buy a ticket to Cuba from the US, but there are some arbitrary restrictions, like you have to choose a category of the kind of traveler you'll be.
Oh,
But
okay.
by and large, Americans can now travel to Cuba.
Yeah.
The reason this one is on the list is because, well, I thought that it was interesting that there were restrictions.
It is interesting.
In fact, up until May 2016, it was absolutely illegal for any American to travel to Cuba as a tourist.
Wow.
All restrictions were lifted briefly, but some things were reinstated again in 2017. For example, U.S. cruise ships are currently not allowed to visit
Wow.
Cuba at all.
Now, I know there was a big beef between America and Cuba way back in the day. They had the missile incident and they had all the dramas with Fidel Castro. I'm not really quite too sure about that. I don't have a good understanding of it. Cuba, a country, I don't really know much about it. I don't really know what sort of touristy things that it has, that it's got there. If you've been there, please jump on, share your stories, let me know. But yeah, it's really bizarre to even think, even up to now, cruise ships can't go to Cuba, and they've just recently just started going there without having to have a reason, like a justifiable reason. So what was one of the reasons? I'm going over there to get me some cigars. All right, this is a really, really interesting video. I'm really, really enjoying this.
But here in Canada, it's always been super common for anyone to go into any travel agency and buy a ticket for Cuba. No one has ever questioned this at all.
Okay.
It's super easy, almost mundane.
If you've been there, let me know.
Keeping a hedgehog as a pet is illegal in several U.S. states.
What?
No, not that kind of hedgehog, this kind.
Why?
Yep, it's entirely legal to keep a hedgehog as a pet anywhere in Canada. However, in New York, California, Arizona, Maine, or in Pennsylvania, it is illegal to own your own
I
hedgehog.
don't understand.
According to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, they can become pests when introduced into the wild where they don't naturally occur.
Yeah.
And this is true. Just ask any Australian about their cane frog issue.
Oh.
I'm going to leave that one for you to Google.
I know what you mean. Okay, guys. You don't need to Google this. Aussie Tash can fill you in and tell you all about them. We don't call them cane frogs. We call them cane toads. And up here in Queensland, they are everywhere. And he is right. They are pests. They are horrible. You don't really see them as much as you did back like 20 years ago. They were everywhere. They're loud, they're big, they're scary, they're slimy, and they are just a pest. And they are really, really dangerous. Say if your family dog would eat a cane toad, that would be it. Unfortunately, you're going to lose your dog. They were brought in here for some reason. I don't know why, but yes, they are a really big problem. Like I said, you don't see them or hear them. They are very, very loud. You don't hear them as much as what we're used to. Back in the day, 20 years ago, mate, they'd be so loud in their big families together, they'd wake you up while you were sleeping, mate. Ugh, grotty little things. Yuck.
There you go. 5 things which differ in their legal definition of right and wrong between Canada and the US.
Cheers, mate. I thought that was a fantastic video. It was very, very interesting to see the differences in the laws between America and Canada. Guys, in Canada, you need to know some of these laws, especially the saying sorry one. Oh my God, because we know how polite you are. We know that you'll always say sorry. But if you go over to America and you're driving and you get into a fender bender and say you're sorry, boom, that's it. You're going to end up in some American jail. Mate, don't say sorry. It's an admission of guilt. You'll be toast, mate. You'll be cactus for sure. All right, that was the video for today. If you enjoyed it, please jump on, smash the like button, leave a comment, and of course, remember to subscribe. Cheers from down under. Take care. Behave, guys. Bye.